All right, today it's the second day in building our um, test bed for ground cover, where we're going to plant the frog fruit and the perennial peanut. What I wanted to talk a little bit about is, as you can see, just in one full day after a very light coating of that vinegar mixture, it killed that grass immediately. And then you don't have to go to the trouble of digging it up. I use the vinegar. If you can see my shirt, that'll remind you. I've had my dealings with chemical things that kill grass when I was in Vietnam, which has affected my life and others' lives and our children's lives through birth defects over the years. So I'm not going to use a chemical like Roundup or other grass killer. It just doesn't make sense because the vinegar works and it dissipates and it goes away. So anyway, that's my little pitch for why we're using the vinegar and how well it works. Actually, it's cheaper and works better than the other herbicide. So today, anyway, we're going to prepare for planting, and as you can see, once we kill the grass, to ensure that it kills the roots, we're going to put very clean, thin cardboard over top of it, and then put a layer of dirt on top of that, wet it all down so that the cardboard starts to rot eventually, and that'll get rid of anything under the dirt, and it'll actually help, feed the lawn and or the planting area. So I'm going to start working on the cardboard. So here we go. I've got some big pieces here, and you can see there's no tape on this. A little bit of paint on that one, so don't get. Maybe I'll use that one later. So it's pretty simple. We just lay it in here. One piece. And overlapping them a little bit. So that worked out very well. Can you go in and get the rake? It's right inside, please. This was the least expensive they had at Lowe's that still looked like it would be good topsoil. I'm not going to put a lot because there's plenty of soil under that grass, and I don't really need to raise or lower the yard to do this, but just enough to cover the cardboard. bags is going to be plenty for this small area. And then it'll just kind of blend in to the yard. Looks pretty good. If you're just seeing this for the first time, the reason that we're doing this is because we've got a typical Florida yard full of high maintenance, high water, and high fertilizer grass that never does look really good. And we want to replace that with a good Florida-friendly ground cover. Something that doesn't need watering as much, doesn't need any fertilizer, and doesn't need to be mowed, which costs us lots of money every year to have our yard mowed. And this pretty much grows level. And all you need to do is trim it with a weed whacker, a string trimmer. So anyway, this is the first step. Now I'm going to wet it down. Handy to have a well and a hose here. So this will wet the dirt down and spread it out, make it level, but it's also going to soak through to that cardboard and get the rotting part of that started so that it won't be in the yard forever. It may be gone in 6 months or less, and you don't have that cloth that they sell for weeds that's there forever. But I'll mention again, the cardboard didn't have any tape on it, didn't have any printing on it, so that it's the cleanest you can get without adding any chemicals. I'll probably come out and water this again tomorrow. So far it's looking pretty good. Move it out a little. I think that's looking pretty good. Give it a little more water. So what we plan on doing with this little area, we're going to put some of the prone fruit, some of the perennial peanuts that have really nice yellow flowers on them. I'm going to plant some in here and probably watch it over the winter just to make sure there's no temperatures around this area. We're near Ocala, Florida, sort of northern central Florida, and it very seldom frosts in the winter, and even more seldom does it do a hard frost. So we're going to kind of watch this throughout the next 6 or 8 months to see which one holds up better, which ones look better, how fast they grow, which both of the ones we're going to plant in here grow very rapidly and spread and put roots down and spread and put roots down. So that's the whole nature of ground cover, and we're also going to look at which one is better to walk on for the areas that we may put it. But at some point we're going to end up with all of our grass gone, if this works out, and all we'll have is ground cover, which will save thousands of gallons of water. It'll keep the no need for fertilizer or pre-emergent weed killer stuff that they spray on every year. This is going to be just a natural yard, and it's not so much this yard and the fertilizer and the water and chemicals put on to fix it. What we're going to end up with is a yard that has something that looks good, looks like a regular yard, but our lawn isn't really a problem. And if you read some of the other stuff I wrote on the post where I'll put this, really it's the thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of acres of sod farms that support everybody's yard, and they have to put lots of fertilizer on that. You see hundreds of square acres of it in Florida, of the sod farms. They're one of the big sources of nutrient pollution, and so by getting rid of our yard and making it look good, getting rid of the grass, then it's still going to look like a grass yard, but it'll be an example for other people that want to get rid of their yards. And maybe we'll get rid of a few hundred square miles of sod farms in the middle of the state, and they can grow broccoli or something else. But I think it's a good step in Floridians realizing that we've muddied up all of our waterways. I think it's around 90% of the waterways are impaired now, mostly with nutrients, which the phosphorus and the nitrogen in fertilizer does run off, get in the streams, and those are the two main food sources for red tide and toxic blue-green algae. So the less of that gets in our waterway, the better off we'll be as Floridians. So anyway, we'll check back in a few days when we start planting on this, but for now we're just going to let the dirt settle in and let the cardboard get wet, and we'll pick up on this later. Thanks.